Oh, so get this. We're going to do a deep dive today into 847 Fillmore Street in San Francisco.
Wow.
Now, you might be thinking, oh, just another house.
Another Victorian.
Yeah, another Victorian house.
Right.
But this one has seen it all, from like Victorian high society to a hub for the Eastern European Jewish community.
So many stories.
It's like a time machine.
It is.
And we're zeroing in on the years between 1933 and 1942 when it was owned by Herman and Rosa Marcus.
Right, a Jewish Romanian couple.
Yeah, a Jewish Romanian couple.
And what's fascinating about this period is that the house becomes like this microcosm of all the cultural shifts happening in San Francisco.
Oh, that's interesting.
We see this new wave of Eastern European Jews coming into the Fillmore district, and it actually created some tension with the more established German Jewish community that was already there.
Oh, wow. So, okay, to guide us on this journey, we've got a bunch of sources, like old newspaper articles, property records, even some whispers of oral histories, which is always exciting.
Yeah.
We're going to peel back the layers of time and like uncover the lives of the people who called 847 Fillmore home.
And picture this. It's 1893. San Francisco is booming.
Wow.
And these identical twin Queen Anne Victorian houses are built 837 and 847 Fillmore.
Like side by side.
Side by side.
Oh, wow.
Designed by Martins and Coffey, a really prominent architectural firm at the time.
Okay.
For a couple of successful businessmen, David B. Factor and August Jungblut.
And they were grand.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. All the bells and whistles of the Victorian era, turrets, gables, you name it. And today, 837, it still rocks that Victorian charm.
It does.
But 847 has, well, let's say, evolved. A fire in the 1960s.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Took out the top floor, and now it's got a flat roof and a modern deck.
It's like a visual reminder of how buildings, like people carry their history but adapt to change, you know? But let's fast forward to 1933 when Herman and Rosa Marcus come into the picture.
Okay.
They purchase 847 at Fillmore, and they transform it into this vibrant Yiddish social hall. And this wasn't just their home, it was a gathering place, a place to celebrate their heritage, a way to, keep those traditions alive in a new land.
Okay, so now we've got this grand Victorian house that's now a bustling Yiddish social hall. What was life actually like for the Marcus family? Did they face any challenges being Western European Jews in a community that already had a German Jewish presence?
Absolutely. There was definitely tension between those two groups. The German Jewish community, they'd been in San Francisco longer, they were more assimilated, and there were these economic and social differences, that caused some friction.
Yeah.
You have to remember, this was happening in cities all across America.
Right.
New immigrants were always trying to find their place, hold on to their traditions, and also navigate the dynamics of an existing community.
So how did the Marcus family deal with this tension? Was 847 Fillmore a place where these cultural differences were addressed, or did it become kind of a refuge from the outside world?
Well, that's what's so intriguing about this deep dive, right? We have these glimpses into their lives, but we also have to do some detective work.
Right.
Consider the historical context to really understand their experiences.
Oh, I love a good mystery.
Right.
And speaking of intriguing stories, you mentioned something about a heroic dog. You can't leave me hanging.
Yes. This story always warms my heart. So in 1937, there's a fire that breaks out in the basement of 847 Fillmore.
Oh, no.
The flames were spreading quickly, like through the laundry chute. It was Flash, the Marcus family dog, who saved the day. He barked and barked and barked,
Wow.
alerting the neighbors. And they were able to get help before it turned into, like, a total catastrophe.
Wow, talk about a loyal companion. It really speaks to that powerful bond between humans and animals. So amidst all of this, the cultural shifts, the close call with the fire, you've got the Marcus daughters growing up in this unique environment. What can you tell us about them?
Well, we know their names were Ella and Elizabeth. And, it must have been quite an experience for them living in a house that was both a family home and this vibrant center for their community,
Right. Imagine being a child surrounded by Yiddish language and music traditions. Were they involved in the social events held at 847 Fillmore?
That's a great question, and it's one that historians are still trying to answer, We have to look at what life was like for young women in that era and consider how their parents might have balanced, their cultural heritage with the realities of assimilating into American society.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing to think what their lives were like, It's like they were living in two worlds.
Yeah.
The world of their Eastern European heritage within the walls of 847 Fillmore, and then, like, the American world outside.
Exactly. And that's like one of those key themes we see in so many immigrant stories.
Yeah.
The balance between preserving those traditions and adapting to a whole new culture.
Right.
Speaking of challenges, though, our research actually uncovered a pretty tragic event that impacted the Marcus family.
Oh, no. What happened?
In 1938, Elizabeth Marcus, one of the daughters, was seriously injured in a car accident.
Oh.
And the driver, William F. Bergen, he was a riding master.
Okay.
He was deemed reckless. And actually, the judge's comments during the case, it really gives you a sense of how society viewed reckless driving back then.
Oh, interesting.
He basically said Bergen was worse than a would-be murderer.
Wow. That's a harsh statement.
Yeah.
But it shows how seriously they took reckless driving, even back then. It must have been an incredibly difficult time for the Marcus family.
Yeah.
Did Elizabeth recover?
Well, the sources, they don't give us like a full picture of her recovery, but it really makes you think about how this event impacted, their family life, even activities at 847 Fillmore. Did they scale back on events? We can only, kind of speculate at this point.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even amidst, these grand historical narratives, individual lives are being shaped by everyday events, by tragedies.
Absolutely.
That leave these lasting impacts.
Yeah, and it also makes you think about how the Marcus daughters might have processed this event.
Oh, yeah.
Did they see it as, a reflection of the dangers of the outside world, a reason to, maybe cling tighter to the safety, that familiarity of their cultural enclave within 847 Fillmore?
Yeah, that's heartbreaking to imagine what they went through. This house has seen so much joy, cultural celebration, and a near tragedy with the fire, and now this car accident impacting one of their daughters. It just adds another layer of complexity to their story.
And it also, it really highlights the resilience of the human spirit. Despite these challenges, 847 Fillmore continued to be a place of gathering,
right?
A real testament to the Marcus family's commitment to preserving their heritage, creating that sense of community.
It makes you realize 847 Fillmore is more than just bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
It represents, the heart and soul of a family,
right.
A community,
a generation navigating, the complexities of immigrant life in America. Absolutely. And that's what's so beautiful about delving into these kind of microhistories.
Yeah.
We learn about broader historical trends, but we also connect with these personal stories that, make history come alive.
Right, exactly. Speaking of which, what ultimately became of Marcus family in 847 Fillmore?
Right.
Did they stay there forever?
Well, like all stories, this chapter eventually came to a close.
Yeah.
World War II brought about significant changes for everyone.
Yeah.
And the Marcus family's time at 847 Fillmore ended in 1942.
Okay.
We don't have the specifics on what actually led to their departure, but it's pretty safe to assume that the war, impacted their lives in ways we can only imagine.
It's like we're standing on the threshold of a new chapter, but the door's closed,
Right.
We can feel the echoes of their story, their laughter, the music, their struggles, but we don't know what happened next.
And sometimes that's just the nature of history, isn't it?
Yeah.
We get these glimpses into the past.
Right.
But the full picture, it remains elusive.
Yeah.
It allows us to use our imagination.
Yeah.
Think about the possibilities.
Yeah.
Appreciate the impact that the Marcus family had on 847 Fillmore.
Yeah, it's almost like we're saying goodbye to a family we've come to know.
Yeah.
Even though we never met them.
Right. It's a feeling that a lot of historians experience.
Yeah.
We get so attached to these stories that we uncover.
Right.
The lives we piece together.
Right.
And their stories in a way become part of our own.
I get that completely. But even though their time at 847 Fillmore ended, their legacy lives on.
Absolutely. It's woven into the fabric of the house itself. It's woven into the history of the Fillmore district. And, it reminds us that seemingly ordinary places can hold these really extraordinary stories.
Yeah.
Stories that connect us to the larger human experience.
It makes you wonder if the current residents of 847 Fillmore, do they even know about the Marcus family?
Right.
And the vibrant Yiddish social hall that once thrived within those walls?
Wouldn't it be amazing if those walls could talk?
I know.
I mean, just imagine the stories they could tell. The laughter, the music, the debates, just the warmth of a community coming together.
Okay, before we wrap up, I have to ask this. We've focused on Herman and Rosa Marcus, right?
Right.
And the impact they had on 847 Fillmore.
Yeah.
But what about their daughters,
Right.
Ella and Elizabeth? Do we know anything about what happened to them, like after the family left?
Unfortunately, the historical record is a bit silent on their lives, after 1942. We can only hope that Elizabeth fully recovered from her injuries
Right.
and that both she and Ella went on to lead fulfilling lives.
Yeah, it's a reminder that sometimes history leaves us with these unanswered questions.
Right.
But even without knowing all the details, like we can imagine the kind of impact their upbringing at 847 Fillmore might have had on them.
Absolutely. I mean, imagine the strength and resilience they learned from their parents.
Right.
The cultural richness they absorbed.
Yeah.
The sense of community they experienced. These are qualities that would serve them well no matter what paths their lives took.
It's a powerful reminder that, the experiences we have, especially in our formative years,
Yeah.
They shape who we become. And the story of the Marcus family, even with its missing pieces, it offers us this glimpse into the lives of Jewish immigrants, navigating the challenges, the triumphs of creating a new life in America.
And it encourages us to look at our own surroundings with a fresh perspective.
Right.
I mean, what stories are hidden, in the houses on our streets, in the buildings we pass every single day?
Right. It makes you want to go on like a historical scavenger hunt, right?
Yes.
To knock on doors, ask questions, and just uncover the layers of history that make up our communities.
Absolutely. And that's one of the most rewarding aspects of exploring history. It sparks our curiosity.
Yeah.
It connects us to the past. And it reminds us that even the most ordinary places can hold these, really extraordinary stories.
So as we conclude our deep dive into 847 Fillmore Street and the Marcus family, I'm left with a sense of gratitude for the opportunity to learn about their lives and just a renewed appreciation, I think, for the power of place.
Right.
And the stories that shape our world.
Beautifully said. And to our listener, I'll leave you with this. Just take a moment to look at your own surroundings. What stories are waiting to be uncovered? What connections can you make to the past? Because history is all around us, just waiting to be discovered.